Story 1. Boyfriend came home ridiculously drunk. So tonight my boyfriend, 32, male, went out with his friends whilst I, 26, female, stayed at home. Normally this wouldn't bother me at all, but I've recently just found out that I'm pregnant with our first child, and I'm not gonna lie. I've had some pretty rough early pregnancy symptoms and just feel really sick, tired. All day I have said to him that I would really appreciate it if he didn't come home drunk. As one, he's really loud and obnoxious when he does. And two, I just don't want to sleep next to somebody who stinks of alcohol, especially when I've been feeling so sick lately. So I'm pretty sure you can guess where this is going. At around 10:30 p.m., I texted him that I was going to sleep and asked him again to please not come home too drunk. And he said no problem and said goodnight. Fast forward a few hours, I wake up to what I can only describe as Godzilla trying to enter my apartment. He swings open the front door, and I can hear him fail epically at taking his shoes off. I can hear him stumbling and falling into the bathroom, and then he eventually makes his way to bed. Instantly, I'm annoyed because the main thing I asked was that he sorts out his horrible alcohol breath, because I don't want to sleep next to it. He proceeds to tell me to fuck off and get him something to throw up in. I stand my ground and say no, that I'm not looking after a drunk child. And he just keeps getting mad at me and tells me that I'm being mean to him. At this point, I just can't stop crying because I just cannot believe he's taken his drinking so far. So I head into the living room to calm down. About 20 minutes later, I try to come back to bed and am slightly concerned as to where he is. I find him half naked, lying on the bathroom floor asleep with the bathroom sink blocked with vomit. I continue crying and he continues to tell me to fuck off and demands that I tell him why I'm upset, but I refuse, as I think nothing productive can come from a conversation where the person I'm speaking to is this drunk. So fast forward again about 20 minutes. He's now passed out in bed and I'm wide awake typing out this post. I don't know whether I'm being overly emotional about the situation or what to think. The fact I'm having a baby with this man is actually scary to me, as I've never seen him act like this. I'm thinking of perhaps speaking to his mom tomorrow about it, as since he's been home, all he has said is that it's not a big deal. Any advice on this would be really appreciated. Story 2. Am I the asshole for leaving the house after my boyfriend and his friends came home drunk? My boyfriend and I have recently moved in together. We decided to set some ground rules, and it was just some little stuff, but I did put down one big one, which was no drinking in the house and stay at a hotel or friend's house. If you are gonna drink. He complained a little about it, but after I reminded him why I won't allow it, and he seemed okay with it. I grew up with two alcoholic parents who were very abusive, and now that I'm older and can choose to live my life, now I avoid being near drunk people at all costs. We've been staying in for the past few weekends, but yesterday my BF told me he was going to go out to a bar with his friends. I said okay and told him that he can use my card for the hotel if none of his friends let him stay at their house. He seemed confused, but he nodded his head and went out. It was around 2 a.m. when I heard our front door being opened. I walked out and saw not only my drunk boyfriend, but also his two even more drunk-looking friends. I asked him why he was here and not at the hotel, and he just laughed at me, saying he didn't think I was being serious about that stupid rule. I was still half asleep and didn't feel like fighting, so I packed a small bag and went to stay at my friend's house. He kept calling me throughout the night, but I ignored them and tried to sleep off my anger. When I woke up this morning, I had a bunch of texts from him and one of our mutual friends. At first, they were just him apologizing, but then they started to get angrier, and he was blaming me for making such a dumbass rule and thinking he was going to follow it. He said I was being a baby, and I embarrassed him in front of my friends. I showed it to my friend, and she said that he was being ridiculous, but her girlfriend said she could see why he'd be upset. Honestly, I'm a little bit torn. I understand that some people might not be comfortable enough to follow this rule, but the thing is, my boyfriend said he was okay with it. Before we even moved in together, he would never go to my apartment while drunk, because he knew how uncomfortable I was with it. I also do think it's very disrespectful of him to not follow the one simple thing I asked him to do. Even after I offered to pay for the hotel, I've asked a few of my friends, and it's split between them too, so what do you guys think? Story 3. Am I the asshole for telling my boyfriend to move out temporarily after he came home super drunk twice in the last month? Long story short, I'm 6 months pregnant, and twice in the last month or so. My boyfriend has gotten drunk to the point that he can barely stand and is vomiting a lot. It happened the first time. About a month ago, he went out with a friend, then texted that he was 5 minutes away when 50 minutes passed and he wasn't home. And I got anxious. Something happened, so I went out to look for him. I find him completely wasted, can't even talk properly, and doesn't seem to know who I am. He vomits a lot when we finally get home, but I let him sleep it off, and in the morning, he apologizes, and I tell him he really upset me and it can't happen again. Then, last night we hung out with a friend. They were just drinking beer, nothing crazy. We decided to go back to ours with the friend for one more drink. They end up drinking about a bottle of wine each, bear in mind. My boyfriend barely drinks these days, so has a lower tolerance. He gets really drunk again and denies he is when I try to get him to drink water, eat something, etc. Then I wake up a few hours later and he's vomiting all over the bed. I sleep again and wake up to a weird noise and find him urinating in the hallway. This morning he says he is sorry, but also that I'm being unfair. Being so angry, I asked him to go stay with some friends for a few days. And he's saying I'm being really unfair and overreacting, saying he didn't want to drink. He only drank because our friend was, which is a really lame excuse. I get that. Sometimes people drink too much. Sometimes we've all done it, but I feel it's really not okay for him doing this and causing stress when I'm 6 months pregnant. Am I being an asshole and overreacting? For the record, we have a good relationship, and I love him so much, which just hurts more as I know. It would suck to separate, but I need him to know it's not okay, especially not now that I'm pregnant. And when the baby is born, I need stability and someone responsible. And all this has me sad and scared. Story 4, husband going out to the bar while I'm 8 months pregnant. Update. He came home sober and apologized after being gone for 2 hours. Bar is like 30 minutes away, so he was there for an hour because he wasn't having fun knowing I was sad. He is a silly little idiot sometimes, and sometimes it takes him a bit longer to get to the right conclusion, but we're 23, so I have to also give him space to mess up sometimes. He brought me a brownie and asked me if I would watch Netflix with him and apologized for being an idiot. I love him even when it takes him getting all the way to the bar, drinking a beer, and trying to enjoy himself to realize he'd actually rather be home. Case closed. This is so annoying, and I feel so stupid. My husband is a saint. He tends to my every need, never complains, constantly uplifts me throughout what has been a very difficult pregnancy, etc. My husband doesn't drink super often, but when he does, he drinks heavily. So when he asked me if I would mind him going out with some friends, my first question was, what is the plan? I don't mind him going to the local brewery for some pizza and a couple beers or just hanging out at someone's house, etc. But I told him I really would prefer he doesn't go out drinking and come home hammered at 2:30 a.m. I'm currently 35 weeks, and we're only home for one weekend for our baby showers. We live in a different state, but our families are still in our shared hometown. We just finished our shower with one side of the family, and we have another one tomorrow. We also have the same high school friends, and when he's not in town, but I am, I spend time with these guys often, so he's really going out with our friends. I am hormonal, I am tired. Being around my family is very stressful and difficult for me. All I wanted to do after the shower was go home, take off my dress and makeup, get in pajamas, and binge some TV with my husband cuddled up on the couch. So when he asked me if I would mind him going out tonight, I said yes, I would. He then argued with me that he never sees his friends, neither do I, but luckily all of them will be at the shower tomorrow. And he just wants to go anyways. I told him to do whatever he wanted, but if he didn't actually care how I felt about it, he shouldn't have asked me. If he knew he was going to go, no matter what I said, he should have said, I'm going out with name and name tonight. Do you need anything before I leave? But no. He asked if I would be okay with it, then argued with my response, then went anyway. When I asked what the plan was, he insisted there was no plan, and he wasn't sure if they were going to the bar. I know these guys, and I knew that was the plan. He swore he had no idea what they were going to do. His brother dropped him off at our friend's house, and they immediately left for the bar. The plan was made before he even got there. I wish he would have just been honest about that part, but he lied because he knew I didn't want him going out and blacking out with his friends while his 8-month pregnant wife was home alone. I'm also jealous. I wish I had the energy and ability to go have fun with our friends if I wasn't pregnant. This would also be something that I would have been invited to, which just adds to the sting. We're staying with my in-laws, so it also just feels a bit awkward to be alone in bed in my in-laws' house. I just didn't want to be left alone tonight, and now my hormonal ass can't stop crying. And the worst part is I know that it's unreasonable and selfish of me to not want him to go hang out with friends. But I don't think it's unreasonable to say, hey, please don't black out and come home at an insane hour because we have a baby shower tomorrow. And also, I'm literally unable to put my own shoes on. So I need you to at least be coherent in case I need you. Edit, I know my husband is being stupid, but really, I would appreciate uplifting words of support. More than anything, we're 23 years old, and he may be acting selfish today, but I promise it is a very rare occasion, and he is my favorite human on the planet. Pals don't say mean things about him. I just needed to vent.